जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन ब्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा श्याम सुंदर राधे। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ। जय बलादेवा जय सुभद्रा। जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता। जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता। निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। निताय गौर हरि बोल। जय सच्चिदानंदन जय सच्चिदानंदन जय सच्चिदानंदन गौर हरे। जय सच्चिदानंदन जय सच्चिदानंदन जय सच्चिदानंदन गौर हरे। गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि। निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। निताय गौर हरि बोल। निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो जय निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो जय निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो जय निताय गौरांगो। जय सच्चिनंदन जय सच्चिनंदन जय सच्चिनंदन गौर हरे गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि ताई गौर हरि बोल ताई गौर हरि बोल नदिया बिहारी गौर हरि मायापुर चंद्र गौर हरि नदिया बिहारी गौर हरि मायापुर चंद्र गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय जय प्रभुपा 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 जय जय प्रभुपा गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल देवों विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविराज काचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन के ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत सांशकोपाद की जाए देवों विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिविराज काचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद इस डिवाइन के श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जाए अनंत कोटि वैष्णवंद की जाए नामाचार्य श्रीलदास ठाकुर की जाए प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जाए श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जाए ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जाए नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जाए श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जाए गंगामाई यमुनामाई की जाए भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जाए समवेत भक्त वृंद की जाए हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जाए ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Upad Vijay. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Sunyavad पाश्चात्य देश तारणे उपाद की जाए So we are reading from Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 contents of the Gita summarized verse number 39 chapter 2 verse number 39 okay ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी हरि ओम तत्तत् 2.39 एषा ते अभिहिता सांख्ये बुद्धि योगे तु इमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि एषा ते अभिहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे तु इमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि एषा ते अभिहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे तु इमां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ कर्मबन्धं प्रहास्यसि Word to word translation. Esha, all this, unto you, Abhihita, described, Sankhya, in analytical study, Buddhi, intelligence, yoga, in work without fruitive results. Tu, but, Imam, this, Srunu, just here, Buddhya, by intelligence, Yukta, dovetailed, Yaya, by which, Parda, Osana, Prudha, Karma Bandham, bondage of reaction, Prahasyasi, you can be released from. Translation by Juvenge, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Sripopad ki jai. Thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen, as I explain in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pruta, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Please repeat, thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen, as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pruta, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Try to understand only one verse. This is a very important verse. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Mukam Karoti Vachalam Panghum Langete Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Sri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Iswaram. Om Tat Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Krupa Sindhubhaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta ki jai. So, we are in this 39th verse. So, in this second chapter, contents of Gita summarized. So far, so here it is mentioning Esha, all this, Te Abhihita Sankhya. So far I have described. So what and all Krishna has described, so that we should recap. First of all, before going there, let's recap. So previously, Krishna has explained about after Arjuna surrendering to a spiritual Lord, Supreme Lord Shri Krishna in 2.7, that is section 2. Before that, there was the pre-qualifications of Arjuna, because somebody has to have that inquisitiveness, somebody has to detect that they cannot perform their activities without the superior guidance, especially to transcendental activities, or to transform even the material activity really to perform expertly, to really transform not and without being attached. So he must seek guidance, especially Arjuna being in that condition, he couldn't decide what to do, to fight or not fight. So then he surrendered. So those are the qualifications. He had gently behavior, he was soft, very soft, and he was very much concerned about not only opposite his side and opposite side, both sides also. So then he surrendered. Then Krishna started explaining about the Sankhya Yoga in the first section from 2.11 to all the way to verse number 29 and 30. So from 31 onwards, Krishna started explaining more or less the same thing, but a little more in a different way about the dharma, swadharma or karma. He is explaining about the swadharma. Okay, even forget about the soul, at least you should perform your duty as a Kshatriya. So Krishna is explaining on that platform. As Kshatriya, you are supposed to perform a duty. But you are renouncing your duty. And if you don't perform your duty, if you perform your duty, and they also removed the doubts of Arjuna, because he expressed I don't want to fight because compassion, and he removed the doubt in the first section, in the third section, in the Sankhya Yoga, that explaining about the body and the soul detailedly. What is the characteristics of the body, what are the characteristics of the soul, and how body is temporary, how the soul is permanent, and soul is conscious, and body is going to So all the Bhishma and Drona, they are not going to last. They are already in old age. Even whether you kill or not kill, they are going to change and get a new body. So why are you worried so much? Don't be caught up in this bodily concept. Don't be compassionate for the skin, for the outer coat, outer dress. You have to be compassionate for the actual living entity, actual soul. So that's what he removed that doubt, and then he also expressed that no enjoyment. Then he removed that in the section 2 also, section 3 also, where he explaining if you perform your duties, then rather you will get eternal benefit. Amritatvaya kalpate, you will get liberation. Even in this section, Krishna is explaining if you don't perform swadharma, yeah, and then third one also sinful activity. Arjuna is saying if I fight, if I kill my own family, then I'm going to incur sin. Then Krishna is removing that doubt also in the previous and this section of Karma Yoga Swadharma. If you don't perform your duty of Kshatriya Dharma, fight against this Duryodhana and party, then you are going to incur sinful activity rather by not doing the duty. So and then not only that, you and then even if you win, then obviously you will enjoy the kingdom. If you lose, if you are killed, then you are going to go to heavenly planets. So either way, but if you don't fight, then you are going to incur sinful act. Then you will have to go to hell because of not doing your duty. And then further Krishna is explaining. So in the previous section, the Swadharma or Karma Yoga section, the previous section there was a two characteristics, and in the next section, in the verse number 31 to 33, there are two characteristics, important characteristics which we described. That one is dependency, and the other one is the cooperation. Very important. There are we will discuss. There are concentrated circles, different circles we're going to discuss here, because we have to understand this buddhi, the intelligence. What kind of, and Krishna is using two times. If you go through the verses, and what is Sankhya Yoga and then what is buddhi, you have to clearly understand. Eshate abhita Sankhya buddhi yogam imam srunu. There proper translated intelligence, and then without fruitive results. Buddhi, first one. And the second one, if you look at, and then further, Buddhi Yukta Eyapar, Buddhi Yukta. Yukta means dovetailed. Buddhi Yukta, engage, dovetailed. Using your intelligence to dovetail or engage in the Lord's service. Buddhi Yukta Eyapardha. Then what will happen? What will be the result? Why should I perform? What will be the result? Karma bandham prahasyasi. Then you will not be get into the bondage. You will not you will not get any reactions because of doing this, especially dovetailing. Two aspects Krishna is mentioning. That means 2 and 2. There are 4 characteristics which we are going to discuss. The first 2 characteristics of this Swadharma, you will see in the first one, that as we discussed, Swadharma, there are 4 different departments are there: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, which are nothing but the intelligent class, the brain. Then the administrative class, Kshatriyas, which is then that is hands, and then you have stomach, belly, sometimes thighs. That is Vaishya class, agriculture class, business class, and then you have Sudra class or worker class. These are the 4 different departments, and every one of them has to work dependent with each other. None of them can work independently, and then also cooperate with each other. Dependent and cooperate, these are the 2. So dependence dependency is one circle, just like these 4 different departments. As I said, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, there are 4 different circles. And then if you put again dependency, one is in the dependency, another one is the cooperation. And then the next one, in the further, Krishna is elaborating indirectly, is explaining that you have given up your regulated activities. You should perform regulated activities. And then he is encouraging indirectly regulated activities and determination. He is testing, he is indirectly chastising him, he is indirectly telling him, people are going to, what kind of person you are? You are you are carrying a Gandiva bow, but what happened to you now? You used to be very much fond of your Gandiva bow, but And what happened to all your valor? Everybody is going to criticize you. They will not think that you have left this war because of this all these wonderful doubts or qualities on Niti Shastra, Dharma Shastra, your moralities, not the actual real dharmas, but because there are 20 Dharma Shastras. He is talking about the initial rules, code, conducts at a basic level, but he is not talking about the higher level. So he is bringing that, but they will not think that you are left because of these Niti Shastra. They think that you are left because you are out of fear, you are left. So that will be the worse than death. So that's why Krishna is telling they. He is not telling I am telling you. He is telling indirectly. What it means is Krishna is telling first of all you must perform regulated activity. That means whether you have difficulty, whether you have any happiness or distress, or doesn't matter whether you like it or not like it, whether you have faith in it or not faith in it, you need to perform regulated activities consistently every day. So that is the third circle. And the fourth circle is it must be done with the determination and patience. So that means we should be always, that's why Krishna is encouraging him to perform regulated activities. Be determined to perform these activities. He is not discouraging. Even though he was in the bodily concept of life, he is giving various reasons. But he didn't, Krishna actually rather encouraged him. Give up this lethargy, give up and fight. You are supposed to, you are coming from a great dynasty, both mother and father side. Give up this and perform your duty. In this way, these four concentrated circles of this dependency, cooperation, and is very important in our life. So that we should be in when it comes. This is the Swadharma and the this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra. And the same verse when you apply it on actually what Lord Krishna is doing in Bhagavad Gita, there are different levels or different angles of vision. If you look at a little bit higher level, the same aspects is coming at the Krishna conscious level. This Swadharma, even though Krishna seemingly speaking Swadharma or Karma Yoga, but rather if you look at the purpose also, you will see Prabhupada mentioning. So it is actually for Krishna conscious person, there are no duties. But still he will perform duties. What kind of duties? He will be always regulated and he will be dependent on who? In this Varna Ashrama business, he will be dependent on, like Kshatriya is dependent on Brahmana, or Vaishya dependent on Kshatriya and Brahmana, like this. There are four different, all are dependent on each other, especially on Brahmana, then Kshatriya also, and then also cooperate. But the person who is Krishna conscious already is always dependent on the Supreme Lord and the spiritual master, these two things. And also cooperate. Not only dependent but cooperates. Means cooperate with the will of the Supreme Lord. Cooperate with the will of the spiritual master. Sometimes you may have to face difficulties. Oh, then you cannot blame Krishna. Then I don't want to do this. It's too difficult. Or I don't like to perform this. No, then you cannot say that because it is too difficult, or I don't like to do. It is not question of liking or not liking. So that's why these principles of different circles, different qualities, different characteristics, determine the dependency, cooperation, and also the regulated activities. Mr. Prabhupada used to do regulated activities. In the waking up in the morning or even the morning walk, he used to go perfectly in time. And doesn't matter where he was not changing his time. As soon as sun comes up, then he was going for morning walk. And also he was also brushing the teeth with a neem thing. Everything very Ayurvedic, very healthy lifestyle. So that's why because we need to take, because this body belongs to Krishna. This body has given by is a part and we are the part and parcel of Krishna. So we should use it carefully. Krishna is mentioning in Bhagavad Gita later on also how to, because some people may not take care of the body properly, or sometimes too much austerity. They put body in too much difficulty and distress, which is also not good. Only it has to be done to the self-preservation, to keep the body fit. So that's why Prabhupada, it's not that he was going because he wants to become healthy or get some muscles or something. No. He is always doing it to keep his body fit. 78 years. And devotees were not young. Those who were young, 20, 25 years, they couldn't walk. How Prabhupada used to walk. Brisk walking. they couldn't catch up with him. They couldn't be regulated as Prabhupada. Even though Prabhupada at that age, generally at that age, in our age itself, now itself, we are not able to perform. But Prabhupada always showed by his example as a leader, is shown by his example. So in this way, and he was always following in this way. Brisk walking is very good. And you need vitamin D. Sun, for Indians especially, vitamin D is very much lacking. When you go to doctor, they will tell you. So that's why you need vitamin D, because sun gives energy actually. Sun purifies. The more you get vitamin D, more you get the sun in the morning, especially, you will not have diseases. You will be saved from unhealthy things and these diseases also, because sun has that capacity to purify. Vitamin D is very important. And then Prabhupada used to go morning walk, at least sometimes 30, 45 minutes, 50 minutes also. A long walk he used to take, and very fast. Then used to come back and give class and darshan, take the darshan of the deities and greet. And used to brush the teeth with the neem or mango trees, with that, so that, because that is very healthy. Now we came up with so many modernized things. This is all healthy and regulated way. We have changed so many things into artificial things, which is causing too many problems in every aspect. But we can study how Sri Prabhupada is conducted, so regulated in his time, in his sleeping and eating also. He used to have cooker half an hour, 45 minutes. Everything, all the cooking used to be done. He used to have massage, but he was not dependent. He was not looking for any servants. Rather, they were ready to serve Prabhupada. They were ready. They want to serve Prabhupada. That's how Prabhupada took. Otherwise, Prabhupada initially nobody was there. Even when he came to US, he was alone. He was doing every activity, fully still regulated. Waking up in the morning almost. He used to sleep only 2 hours, 12 to 2, 10 to 12. He used to sleep not even 4 hours, 2 hours. We shouldn't imitate. So everything perfect. In that way, before by 6 o'clock, he used to perform his Gayatri also. That also he used to perform quick, sit straight and perform it. So everything is very regulated systematically as per Shastra, as per Guru's instruction. He didn't move an inch, even despite so cold, so heat. Even in the winter also, he used to go for morning walk. So even too hot, Prabhupada used to sit in the garden. If you see many places, they have garden. Fresh air he used to take, because that is good for health. So he used to smell the fragrant flowers. So it is good for health. So all these ways he wants to keep the body fit to perform, to execute the will of Krishna. Regulated activities to do good for others, to look for best interest of others is always, because he wants to distribute this. Is always encouraging others. So he's seeing what others' quality is. Even somebody fall down, somebody is not really up to the mark, he has committed so many mistakes, but still. So that's why Prabhupada emphasized that here the Buddhi means it is by love, not to criticize, not to find faults. Somebody who is love, because generally we look for what can I do, and and Prabhupada used to act as very cultured. Means the way he was dealing, the way he was communicating with even his disciple, he was not acting as a master. Actually, he was asking very gently, even for service also. He was not asking, I am the master. Why did you not do this? Why did you not do this? Just like we, as soon as we take up leadership position, wherever, in the job or in the temple or wherever, so we think we are the master, we think we are in the control. But Prabhupada acted very gently. So these are the qualities of a cultured person. These are the qualities of regulated person. When we are regulated in our activities, in our waking up, and that's why the holy name must be chanted in the morning. Prabhupada used to chant before itself, early in the morning by 3:30 after his translation work, and then he used to go for morning walk at 6:30 when our sun used to come up. So in that way, we see that come back and then take darshan of the Lord deities and then give class, and then he used to get massage, then taking bath, then take meal around 12:30 or 1. And the breakfast used to be 9, or fruits and nuts, or fruits and yogurt, like that he used to take, very simple. When the sun is in the middle, I used to think other way, breakfast it should be heavy and lunch should be moderate. But rather it has been told that when the sun is in the middle, at 12 o'clock noon, that's when actually Rajbhog should be the heavy, lunch should be the heavy. But for those who are working, especially if you are going to office, Not now in the virtual world, but when we go to office, if we eat too much in the lunch, then it's difficult to work. We'll sleep. So then we'll have to see, at least breakfast and lunch should be considered like that, but dinner should be very light. Prabhupada used to take just milk and muri, milk and puri, one or two puri. So like that, Prabhupada used to have a regulated activities to keep his body, his everything fit, so that he can execute, he can perform his duties for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna to serve others. So that's what here is been described as. So Krishna is encouraging Arjuna to perform this. Now in this verse, Krishna is mentioning, so these four circles must be intersected. So you can perform these cooperation, dependency, all these, but if Krishna is not centered, and also another thing is one must do with love. Okay, then trust will come. One must do any activity, love. This dovetailing, this Buddhi yoga is mentioned, Krishna is mentioning Buddhi. First one is not expecting results, not attached to results. Karma, first one. Eshate abhita sankhya buddhi yogam tu imam shrunu. The first Buddhi yoga Krishna is mentioning is not to be attached to results, be detached from the results. So that is the first aspect. But even many people may be in that aspect of not attached to results, but they are not actually performing activities. Many times that's why you will see throughout Bhagavad Gita, especially many chapters further, you will see Arjuna's dilemma also, because many people are in this dilemma also. They renounce activities. They think that Buddhi Yoga means inertia, not performing activities. They renounce things. They don't perform. They don't perform activities. They will take up the Jnana Yoga. They want to renounce things. So that's why in purport you will see that Krishna Prabhupada is mentioning two things. Both are sense gratification. One who is Arjuna was thinking, I should renounce and go to forest. I shouldn't fight. Prabhupada is mentioning, Krishna is mentioning here, that is sense gratification, because that you are thinking on your own terms. That, oh, I should have fight, it's too dangerous, too difficult to fight with my own family members. Giving up his duty and saying that is sense gratification, because you are thinking in your own terms. You are not thinking whether it's as per the Shastra, Sadhu or Guru. It is not to please Krishna or Guru or Shastra. So that means sense gratification for our own whimsical thoughts. Then another way also, even if you want to fight for his own benefit, or because I can lead nicely my kingdom, I will get a lot of benefits, enjoy this kingdom, opulence. Then Krishna, Prabhupada is mentioning, Krishna is mentioning in this Buddhi Yoga, the Imam Shrunu, that is also sense gratification. That means we are attached to results. Both ways is attached to results. One need to enjoy the kingdom, attached to results. One renouncing means he will be peaceful. That is also is attached to results. In both ways, because of this attachment to the results, thinking for his own benefit, that is sense gratification. So that's why Buddhi Yogantu Imam Shrunu means minute yoga. Prabhupada explains in different places. Buddhi means intelligence. And generally, so the one aspect of Buddhi yoga means how to dovetail in Krishna's service, how to first of all inquire about the absolute truth and dovetail or engage the activities in Krishna's yukta, yoga. When it is used, that means connection with the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, Lord Vishnu. So then that is called actually Buddhi yoga. And so that that means there is activity involved. Like if you look at Dhritarashtra, and then we see another some other examples also. Those are at different level. So Dhritarashtra's level is he doesn't want to perform the actual regulated activities. Duryodhana obviously not. Dhritarashtra, but later on you'll see the different levels. Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, there is a difference there also. Duryodhana completely end to end, beginning and end until the end, even after end also, he didn't actually realize anything. So completely lost his pious credits. No dependency. He is not dependent on the Shastra, Sadhu, Guru. He didn't depend. He didn't cooperate with Vyasdev or Dhaumya or none of them. So many instructed. Some other sage also came. He didn't listen. Then he cursed also. So many different ways. So he didn't follow no dependency. He acted independently, and then he didn't cooperate. Neither he performed regulated activities, nor there was no determination to follow it. These four things were missing. All four circles were missing. But if you look at Dhritarashtra, initially he didn't cooperate. He was not dependent on the Lord, because Lord also instructed him. He said, yeah, it is all good, but I cannot do it. That's what he said. But if you look at later on, after Vidura told, what you are doing is not correct. You should especially you should throw this one son who is making you perform these irreligious activities. Just cut him out or throw him out. Then you will do good. It will be good for your whole family. So obviously Duryodhana was right there, and then he was so much upset, and then immediately he used strong words, and he wants to kill Vidura or throw him out just last breath. So very serious, strong words, sharp criticizing Vidura. Then he had to pay the penalty, obviously, because of that also. But Vidura left. After Vidura came back again to serve, because Vidura is a Mahajana. He wants to serve Dhritarashtra because he was guiding Dhritarashtra. Initially, he didn't listen. After the whole Kurukshetra war was over, then he came to his senses. But even then, he was actually not in the third and fourth category. He was only come to that first and second category. He was eating. He was still in the house of the Pandavas in the Yudhishthira Maharaj's palace. He was dependent on them. He was cooperating with them. He is not revolting or anything. He was sitting and eating, but he didn't actually engage anything in the Lord service. He didn't. When Vidura came back and instructed him, what you are doing, you didn't realize anything, you don't have any intelligence, Buddhi, where you have been sitting and eating, because of you this whole warfare came, and then now also you are sitting in their house and eating and without understanding what is the goal of human life. So this is not correct. So Vidura has instructed very strongly. Then they woke up, especially because of Gandhari was chaste, and obviously, but she was dependent on her husband. So then finally, by Vidura's association, Vidura's instruction, then from dependency and cooperation, then he came to the other activity. Then they went to perform regulated activities. So by their nature, by their proclivities and qualification and desires, then Vidura Maharaj engaged them in certain type of yoga for their benefit, seeing their quality, and sent them to forest, and then in that way they got liberated later on. But see that, so initially he didn't, even despite going through so much difficulty, killing all his sons were killed, but still he didn't realize. See, imagine the situation, imagine the conditioning of a living entity. This kind of intelligence is not going to work. That's why Prahlad Maharaj in his prayers, he was telling, what is that beautiful verse? What is that? Dana Rupa Tapa Sruta Ujas Manye Dana Bijana. Yeah, Manye Dana Bijana Rupa Tapa Sruta Ujas Na Aradhanaya Bhaktya Tutosha Bhagavan Gajayuta Paya. Yeah. So Manye Dhanabhijana Rupa Tapas Trutaujas. One who is having this Dana, means riches, Abhijana, popularity, aristocratic family, so many people are surrounded by them, opulence, Manye Dhanabhijana Sruta. They might be in education wise, so much scholarly, or lot of education, they have a lot of study they did. But by none of these qualities they are going to please the Supreme Lord. They cannot perform actually regulated activity. They cannot perform without attached to results. I mean, these are the material qualifications of the wealth, riches, the aristocracy, beautiful form, rupa, tapa, austerities, ordinary austerities. These are all still good and bad in material world, which means you will get higher planets, or you will enjoy nicely in this life, maybe next life to heavenly planet, then again you will come back. We don't know what life we are going to get. So that is still material. So none of these are qualifications. Srutaujas. Then Teja Prabhava, Bala Buddhi Paurusha. Yeah, Buddhi. There also it is used. Intelligence. Ordinary intelligence is it is actually what you call Dushkruti means there is no, because just like Duryodhana also has intelligence, but what kind of he has a Dushkrutina intelligence. That means he doesn't have, all the pious credits are gone. He doesn't know how to use his resources, how to use his body, how to use his intelligence properly, because he was wrongly applying the principles. So all these he has everything: manya, dhanabhajan, rupa, tapa, srutaujas, teja, prabhava, bala, buddhi. He has the strength, he has the influence, he has the power, everything he had. But na aradhanaya, na aradhana. You cannot worship. You cannot please the superiors. You cannot please the spiritual master. You cannot please the sadhus. You cannot please the supreme lord by having all these qualities. What is na aradhanai bhavanti parasya pumso. Parasya para means supreme lord, transcendental. Pumso means the living entity. Parasya pumso. Bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayotapaya. Bhaktya, only way. Tutosha means gajayotapaya means Gajendra. It's talking about Prahlad Maharaj praying, referring to Gajendra. How Gajendra, even though he was a strong, great elephant, but because by only devotion, because of his previous life, he performed wonderful devotion service as King Indradyumna Maharaj to building the temple for Lord Jagannath and perform wonderful devotion services. Because of that, there was a sage, one sage cursed him, so that's why he became Gajendra in next life as an elephant. But that was a blessing, because he is going to meet Supreme Lord. Immediately appeared when he surrendered, when he remembered the Lord. 1,000 years, he fought 1,000 years with crocodile. So that time, so that's why it is mentioned, Bhaktya tutosha bhagavan. Only way you can satisfy is by using your intelligence in the Lord's service, using your intelligence to pray, to think, to offer. So your various, your body, your mind, your senses, this is the way. Bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayotapaya. So like how Gajendra offered, that is only qualification. None of the other material qualification is going to work. We cannot please. That's what he thought. That's what even Durvasa Muni thought. That is another thing also. During the creation, we see that when Brahma started creating, then he created 4 Kumaras. Then 4 Kumaras didn't want to do procreation. And that's what, because Brahma's job is Prajapati, he has to expand the creation. But they were not ready to do. Then he became angry, upset a little bit. Then because of that angry, then automatically from his nostrils, between eyebrows, Rudra was born. Lord Shiva's expansions. Sadashiva is in the Vaikuntha Loka, but his expansions as Rudra were born. And then immediately started, immediately as soon as he appeared, he asked, what should I do? Where I should live? Then immediately Brahma said, don't worry, don't be impatient. These are the places you are going to see. The 11 Rudras came, and all 11 Rudras he told, these are the names, these are your wives, you are going to marry. And then he gave the places. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. So it is explained. The Rudra is there in each and every thing, aspects. So that's why we see in the ocean waves. That's why we see too much heat, too much cold because of the moon. So he is there in the sun and moon also. He is there in the heat and cold. He is there in this earth, water, fire, air, ether. He is there in every aspect, because he has been given these 11 places to be situated. So the lust is there, the anger is there, that krodha. So that is there because Rudra is interacting as the mode of ignorance tinged with passion. So that's how from Brahma he was born. So that's how, because the living entities have that condition. Living entities have this ignorance and mode of these 3 modes of material, because they want to enjoy separately from the Lord. So that's how when 11 Rudras expanded, they have been given the places to be situated. So that's how, because of that, we're acting. So because we have been conditioned, so indirectly these modes are working. So Rudra is working when we are not attached, when we are not engaged in devotions, or when we are not assigned or engaged in internal energy of the Lord. Then that's when we become conditioned. Then external energy will work heavily. That external energy means the transformation of the modes. So when the Lord glanced, Mahavishnu glanced on the material nature through Kala Chakra, where it is mentioned that Kala is nothing but Kali, right? Durga and Kali, they are all the same aspects. So that Kala, time factor, when Lord glanced, he sent the also time factor. Then they started cooking, because the material world means there is a time factor. In spiritual world, there is no time factor. So it is all here relative. Our life versus Brahma's life, the ant life, everything is relative. So then the time factor, because of Kala Shakti, Kali, goddess Kali was in action. So then it produced this material elements, the Mahatattva. It is a total summation of all the material ingredients. It's called Mahatattva. From there are three variations. Mahatattva in mode of goodness is called Vaikarika, Sattvika. And then it produced mind, transformed into mind. And then there are 26 elements, 23 elements, and then 23, 24 elements, including Kala, 24 elements. So these 23 elements are one by one produced. And so that is Mahatattva transformed. Mahatattva is also mentioned as consciousness sometimes. And here the Buddhi is used. That's why I am explaining this Buddhi. It has been explained as Mahatattva is in a pure goodness originally. Originally, when it is the Supreme Lord in the Vaikuntha Loka, Mahatattva is in pure goodness. But when it is in touch, in tinge of when the living entity want to agitate, the living entity want to enjoy separately from the Lord, then it is in touch. It is transformed by these three modes of material nature, touch with the passion and ignorance and goodness. It transforms into three different aspects. So Mahatattva in mode of goodness, touch with mode of goodness, and because it's still material, it's not Visuddha Sattva. So then it transformed into Vaikarika or Sattvika Mahatattva. The original consciousness Mahatattva is actually Vasudeva is in charge. But when Mahatattva tied with goodness, that is transformed into mind is generated. So mind is a mode of goodness. And when it's with transformed intersected with goodness, then mind is generated. The in charge deity for the mind is Lord Aniruddha. Like Mahatattva is consciousness, in original consciousness, that is the Lord Vasudeva. And so then the Mahatattva in passion, when it is touched with three modes of material, especially with passion, then it became Tejasa, so passionate. And then it generated the intelligence. Then Lord Pradyumna was the in charge of the deity for the intelligence. So that's why there was the Lord Shiva was instructing Anuruddha prayers in the 4th canto to Prachetas. On Aniruddha prayer, there are 2 verses given there in 4th canto, one of the chapter. I don't remember the chapter. Prachetas prayers. Lord Shiva instructing Prachetas to remember, so that mind is stable, mind is peaceful, mind is controlled, so that our senses are, because there are different levels. We'll come to that. So where it is mentioned here, Mahatattva in goodness in mind is generated, Mahatattva in passion, intelligence generated, and Mahatattva in ignorance, it is called Tamasa, Tamasa, ignorance. Then it generated the false ego, and also it generated the sense perceptions, sense perceptions, and these all these other elements is nothing but you have a gross elements, which is earth, water, fire. First is actually first element produced was sound. From sound came sky. So sound element, sound vibration. That's why very important is the sound vibration. When we are sleeping, as soon as some sound comes, then we wake up because of sound. So all other elements, that's why the sound is very important. So the hearing, that's why the oral reception is very, very important. Transcendental, that's why material sound itself generally important, sound vibration. And then we are talking about here is transcendental sound vibration. That's why the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra has a transformation effect on our body, our mind, our senses, our intelligence. We may not have faith, we may not like it, we may not want to do, but naturally it will act. And especially if you do with strong faith and with love, then it will act even at a higher degree. Prabhupada said, how long it takes to become Krishna consciousness? 1 second. Because that is immediately, minute you fully surrender, fully cognizant, fully surrender, then full faith, then automatically you can become Krishna conscious. Because you are fully surrendered. Because the challenge is we are not fully surrendered. So that's why we have difficulty. Our mind and intelligence, senses, everything is dragged into so many different things. So that's why it is here mentioned the gross elements. First one is produced from this Mahatattva, agitation of Mahatattva, glance of the Mahavishnu through Kala Shakti is sending, not directly, obviously, that from Mahavishnu, Karanodaka Sai Vishnu is sending that, and through Rama Devi is sending that glance, then the Kali is coming into picture, Lord Shiva is coming into picture, the transformation of milk touched, transformed into yogurt. The same way this, because Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna is not directly in touch with the material creation, he is indirectly, he is the cause of all causes, but here Lord Shiva comes into picture, and goddess Kali or Durga comes into picture in this creation to take that glance and transform it, and interaction with the three modes of material nature. It will work, start cooking, and then these different elements gets produced, because then the creation happens. They call it as Big Bang theory, but it is how it has happened. Thus glance. And then he expands as Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu enters into each of these bubbles as universe, and then again he expands when he is, from his navel lotus stem comes, lotus flower comes. That's where Brahma is born without a female energy. And then again he expands as Kshirodasa Sai Vishnu as Paramatma, where it is explained as and also this total consciousness, Mahatattva is nothing but total summation of the consciousness, because his Lord's form in Virat Rupa in this material world is there, his eyes, his hands, his legs is there everywhere throughout the world, throughout these universes, throughout this material world, everywhere he is there, because this is Virat Rupa, Viswarupa it is also called. So that is temporary within this material world. Prabhupada is explaining. The second aspect is also this Archa Vigraha is also similar to that, so that devotees, living entities can directly interact with the Lord. Archa Vigraha, who is accepting like a postal box, is accepting your service. You can touch him, you can feed him, you can feel him, you can communicate with him. But more that when you do with love, then he can communicate. Prabhupada mentioned that Prabhupada servants has mentioned that, like, just like even Prabhupada also is like a puja, serving Prabhupada, serving Guru, serving the Sadhu, serving the Supreme Lord is like very personal. It has to be done with love. Then you can see the also immediately the results, immediately the communication, the reciprocation will be there, and also if you do anything wrong, mistakes, offenses, you will be automatically know also. Only when you do with love, then only you will be automatically, because Lord is always reciprocates, he is personal. More we become personal in the way where we are offering, always serving, nice garland, nice flowers, tulsi leaves, dressing him, offering water, fruits, whatever within our capacity and time, place, circumstance. At least we start worshipping, trying to become personal with the Lord's Archa Vigraha, then more our body, our mind, our senses becomes, purified, because we are in touch with the transcendental nature of the Lord. So, but it is all temporary to this material, within the material world. This Archa Vigraha and Viswarupa, Virat Rupa is also temporary. It is not in the spiritual world. Virat Rupa is not in the spiritual, only in the material world. Prabhupada is mentioning. So that is the total summation of consciousness of the Lord in pure goodness. But when it transforms into the material world, then the living entity also has conscious, but in a contaminated consciousness, contaminated intelligence, because of the living entity want to enjoy separately from the Lord. So that's how this initially sound vibration come first, because of this Mahatattva acting with these modes, three modes of material nature, action in place, in motion, set in motion. So that's how sound vibration come, then sound to sky has appeared. Again, in each and every aspect, each and every element, it is mentioned Lord's glance is there in each and every aspect. Lord has glance, and also he has time energy is there. Interaction is there, interaction of the modes. Otherwise, these elements one by one cannot be produced. It is not, nobody else can produce, because without Lord's power, he is putting that his potency. And so that's how these elements, first sound to sky, and then from there air is produced, because again touch of the Lord is there, glance of the Lord is there. Air is produced, from there air to form, from the form the fire is produced, then the fire to next is the taste, and then water is produced, then the smell and the touch, and the earth is produced, then the touch. In this way the elements of the, what is it, ether, ether, air, fire, water, earth. These are the five gross elements produced. And same thing, subtle sense objects are also produced. With nothing but the sound, sound, the form, then you see the sound, form, taste, smell, and touch. These five. The five are the gross elements which we all living entities have within their body: air, fire, water, air, ether. Same with these five subtle elements also there. It's sense objects. Yeah, five gross, and it's five elements are there also, subtle elements. And then we have then from there these gross also, the indriyas appeared. These four other circles we can say also is, one is the Dhritarashtra is acting on the consciousness of gross. There are two different layers of senses, which is karmendriyas and gnanendriyas. One who is not acting, using properly is indriya, that means he's closed off. His eyes, his these gnanendriyas, that means knowledge acquiring senses, especially ears, eyes, the tongue, the taste, and then the nose. These are the knowledge acquiring senses. When these are not used properly, then when they are not attached to, used in Krishna service, are not using it properly, engaged in Lord service, then it becomes contaminated. That's what Dhritarashtra's case. Rather, he is using all his karmendriyas, that is one circle, and Gnanendriya second circle. Then the mind is in another circle, and the intelligence is in another circle. These are the four circles. When they act in dependency on the Lord or the Guru or representative, and also cooperative, and then regulative, and then the determination, these four things, hand in hand it works, then automatically we purify all these. Otherwise, the lust is situated, anger, lust, kama, krodha, moha, mada, matsarya, these six things. But those who are in Krishna consciousness, fully realized and fully acting on the platform, then for them these six things doesn't work on their body or their mind or the senses or the intelligence, because the lust, these six things are situated at these levels. Especially for Dhritarashtra, you can see, even though he is operating, Duryodhana also is operating in this karmendriyas section. But even though everybody has, living entity has gnanendriyas, but he is not operating on that level. Actually, Gnanendriya is supposed to be used, especially human being, where it is also mentioned there are 9 types of creations in the Sankhya Yoga. Again, first of all, coming to the Sankhya Yoga, Prabhupada explained in detail. Sankhya Yoga means there is a Sankha, Sankhya, A apostrophe. Sankhya means, and there is but the Sankhya Yoga here specifically is Sankha, apostrophe, the last A, not the second A. Second A means, Sankhya means it is just a count of things, count of elements, count of various things. But actually Sankhya Yoga means last A apostrophe, means longer A in the last second A. Then that is called analytical study of the body and soul. That is what Sankhya Yoga here. But it also means using, when we understand why the Sankhya Yoga is given, indirectly Krishna is bringing living entity to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada explains in this purport, or later on in the purports, one of the verse, Prabhupada explains, only those who are less intelligent, they think that Sankhya Yoga is different from Krishna consciousness. Sankhya Yoga is also Buddhi Yoga, because it is meant for the serving the Supreme Lord. To understand why the Canto 3, where Vidura is asking Maitreya Muni, or Devahuti is asking Kapila, please explain how this creation has happened, why we are attached to these things, why we are suffering. Then there was explanation in great detail, because the idea is to develop how we can mitigate Atyantaka Dukkha Nivrutti, how we can mitigate this suffering, distress, and come to the come to the actual enlightenment, come to the transcendence, come to the eternal happiness, not temporary happiness, eternal happiness. So that is actually Sankhya Yoga. There was atheistic Kapila also has given his own philosophy, Karma Mimamsa theory. But here, this actual Sankhya Yoga means understanding in Bhagavad Gita, specifically in this chapter, second chapter, it is describing analytically what is body, what is soul, and what are the characteristics, and what is the relation. That is the Sankhya Yoga here. But if you go to Canto 3, that's what I was talking about, these 23, 24 elements, how from Mahatattva, with the agitation of three modes of material nature, these five gross element produced, and then its subtle element produced, 5, 1, 5, 10, and then Karmendriyas, hands, legs, genitals, uh, rectum, and then and then also the mouth. These five things are called karmendriyas, and gnanendriyas are, as I mentioned, the tongue, the ears, eyes, nose, so and touch. Touch. So this is called the skin. Yeah, the five knowledge acquiring senses, and then five also knowledge acquiring senses and karmendriyas. Yeah, which is working senses. There are 5, 1, 5, 10, and then 5 gross element and its subtle objects 5. Total 10 plus 10, 20 elements, and then 3 are mind, subtle element, mind, intelligence, false ego, 23. These are the 23 elements produced because Mahatattva being agitated. Mahatattva in pure goodness is in pure goodness in the spiritual world. But when Lord, because living entity want to enjoy separately from the Lord, then Lord glanced and sent the Kala, the goddess Kali, in touch. And then it transformed and then started cooking. When time factor come into picture and started cooking, then these different aspects came. Mahatattva in goodness, mind has produced. Mahatattva in passion, intelligence came. Mahatattva in ignorance, then all these senses, different elements, 23 elements which we are describing, one by one produced. And these are explained as 9 types of creation. First creation is Mahatattva, second creation is false ego, because Mahatattva, when it is in touch in ignorance, then false ego is produced. And in charge of the false ego is Lord Sankarshan. In charge of the Mahatattva in original consciousness is Vasudeva, he is the predominating deity. And Mahatattva in goodness, in touch with goodness, mind is produced, the predominant deity is Aniruddha. Mahatattva in touch with passion, which is intelligence, is the predominating deity is Pradyumna. These are 4 aspects there. Yeah, goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then within that ignorance, then these elements are produced. So in the 9 types of creation, it is explained as first one is the false ego. First one is Mahatattva generation. Mahatattva, especially in a little bit tinge of passion and ignorance, because in originally it is pure, because it is a total summation of the elements. So because the living entities want to separately enjoy from the Lord, then Lord has to transform it into material activities. So that's why the first creation is Mahatattva. Second one is the false ego. Then started further down where it is explained as third one. Yeah, third one is sense perceptions. Fourth one is the creation of knowledge and working capacity. And then the fifth one is controlling deities, especially the mind. And then the sixth one is the ignorant or darkness of a living entity. And then the seventh onward, these first 6 are the naturally coming from the Supreme Lord. And then 7th, 8th, 9th came from Lord Brahma, where it is mentioned as immovable living entity, like the plants, the trees, the creepers, the pipe plants, all those immovable. Then the 8th one is lower species of life. Then also the human beings. Lower species of life means these animals and various species of animals and birds and others. And then the 9th one is the human beings. So these are the 3, and then last one also creation of demigods. As per demigod doesn't mean just demigods. It means kinnaras, kimpurushas, gandharvas, charanas, vidyadharas, even the demons, because they are all rakshasas. They are all situated in a Bhuvar Loka. We are in the Bhuloka, in between. When we are in the passion, that is, we are situated in the earthly planet. When we are in somebody is operating ignorance, then the lower planets, 6 planets down, we are in the 7th planet in the middle. And then above are 7 planets. The heavenly planet is called Swargaloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, Maharloka, and so obviously Satyaloka. So the topmost planets are different types of demigods. Just above us is Bhuvarloka, where these ghosts and pretas and pisachas, other living entities are there. So they are also considered big higher than us, but they are in the mode of passion. But those who are in the mode of goodness, further they are above the Bhuvarloka. That is called Swargaloka, the heavenly planets. and then Janaloka, Tapaloka, different kinds of sages, different kinds of living, Vidyadharas, Charanas, Kinnaras, Kimpurushas, all of them are there in these higher planets above us. So in this way, these the first six are coming from the Supreme Lord, and the next three creations, which is coming from the, means originally they are there. All these living entities, whether immovable or movable, trees or plants or aquatics or birds or human beings, all of them are originally there. All they all have a different type of consciousness. Highest consciousness is inquiring about absolute truth is only with human beings, not lower species. But these are all coming from these are all originally there in the spiritual world. So, but they are, when the living entity want to separately enjoy from the Lord, then these are all coming. Brahma is creating. Brahma is giving these forms. Okay, which place, which country, which planet, exact continent, everything Brahma, because Brahma is the one. Through they all appear through different ways, as you know, Svedaja, Andaja, as we are saying, through different ways of creation. But this procreation is happening is through Brahma is the procreator. He is called Prajapati. Through him expansion is going on. Through him the material creation is going on. So that's why these are called, the first six are called natural. The second set is called some other name, which is coming from Brahma. So one is coming, first six are coming from the Supreme Lord. In this way, these are called, actually, this is called Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga. That means analytical study of these various material elements. Some are gross, some are subtle. Like mind, intelligence also is subtle. But the gross elements is earth, water, fire, air, ether, and then its sense objects are there. And the same thing, Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas. In this way, all together summation of 23, and you add Kala 24. Then we add mind, intelligence, false ego. So the consciousness, if you add even 25. Sometimes if you add other element of Mahatattva also 26. So in different places it is mentioned, but either way, generally it is mentioned 23 to 24. We don't add everything into that and make it 26. But in one or two places 26 elements are. This is all called Sankhya. But Krishna's main point here is how to utilize everything in Krishna's service. That's why it is emphasized here. Use your intelligence, how to dovetail activities, intelligence. That means there should be activity and it should be engaged in the Lord's service to transcend. Because when it is not engaged, you might be cooperating, you might be dependent on others, but that doesn't mean you are going to transcend. You still going to come to in the material world, you still have to go through suffering like Dhritarashtra's case. But if you same way you see in Pradyumna Mishra has been approaches, I am Grihastha, I am suffering, I have wasted my life. And so I am approaching you, Lord Chaitanya. He approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and asked, how can I use my intelligence? How can I please describe Krishna's pastime? I want to hear Krishna's pastime. Somehow he had intelligence to hear. He was a Brahmana, Pradyumna Mishra. But he told him, I have wasted my life and I don't know. So now I want to hear. Develop taste, now I want to hear. So Dhritarashtra was not in that case. Despite going through so much difficulty, seeing all his 100 sons killed, and he was sitting in the Pandavas' house and eating their remnant, but still he didn't realize. He became dependent, he became cooperating with them, but he doesn't have a choice, actually. He doesn't have a choice. So that's why he had to depend on them. That's why he has to cooperate with them. But when Vidura came back and gave his mercy and chastised them, then they went to perform regulated activities. Then they, with a determination, because of his mercy. So that's why the association of the devotees, association of sadhu and shastra. Shastra is like a weapon. Shastra is that's the weapon to cut our knots, cut our lust, situated in all these gross elements, our body, mind, senses. That's why Krishna is mentioning in the third chapter later on. Indriyani parani ahur indriyebhyam param manasastu parabuddhe parasastu saha. So the first level is gross senses, and then above the senses is mind, above the mind is intelligence, above the intelligence is the soul, the consciousness, and then the energy is coming from the super soul. Because super soul is there in the living entity, in the human being also, in all living entities also. Because of that, the energy is there within the heart. The energy, and then there also it is mentioned in the creation, there are three other things also mentioned. It is mentioned, three divisions are there, 1, 10 and 3. That 1 is nothing but the consciousness, the soul has a consciousness, Like the super soul has a supreme consciousness, that means it will know everything, what is going on, not only this life, previous life, future, everything. That is the Supreme Lord. And the spiritual master and Narada Muni, to the degree they need to know, the Supreme Lord reveals, because that's how Narada Muni knows what has happened, what who's needed him, where guidance is required. Accordingly, Narada Muni appears right there. He knows, because that's what Supreme Lord, he has the greatest, he has to do greatest activities, transcendental activities. So he needs to know. So that's how Lord reveals within the heart. He is giving that intelligence because of his extraordinary nature of his activities. But for ordinary people, then they cannot remember past life, they cannot know what the past, what the present, what the future is, like how Narada Muni knows. But spiritual master also knows, because Lord will reveal him what he needs to know at what time. So because Lord is there, because he is the representative, true representative of the Supreme Lord. Uh, where it is mentioned, the one is the consciousness divided, the creation is divided into these three sections. One as a consciousness, the second one is the energy is explained as this consciousness, just like the elements. First, how the creation has happened, the sound vibration, from there the sound to sky ether, sky produced, and then from there air. So that's the same thing aspect is mentioned here. The consciousness, original consciousness, is transformed. The consciousness is directed through the 10 kinds of air. So the 1 and 10 and 3. The 1 is the consciousness, the 10 is nothing but the air. 10 kinds of air is in the body. So that's why if somebody is consciousness, that means this consciousness is not in a pure state, then obviously is 10 kinds of air which is traveling throughout the body. 10 kinds of, first is 5 kinds of air, which is the prana vayu. Is the prana which is entering the life force, and then the apana which is evacuating, the air used to evacuate, that is the apana. And then you have samana to maintain, when you eat, to maintain equilibrium, that is samana. And then you have belching, sometimes you have suffocation, then vyana. Then in this way, prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana. So these 5 kinds of air. Then you have a subtle 5 kinds of air also. That is opening eyelids and your belching. So the naga and kurma, devadatta, dhananjaya, one more I forget. So there are 5 kinds of air. The consciousness is acting, the energy is transmitted, and consciousness is being carried through these 10 kinds of air throughout the body. But the super soul, because super soul is distributing, giving that energy, that's why doctors and scientists are not able to find where these red corpuscles are getting the energy. So because super soul is being given that energy to the soul, and then that consciousness is permeated into through these 10 kinds of air, all through joints, everywhere, because the air is there. So, and the controlling deities are there for the wind and for the air. There is Varuna and then other deities. And these deities are also produced in this creation. This is an elaborate subject, Canto 3 talks. I am just giving a brief because it is mentioned here. We need to understand when it is mentioned Sankhya Yoga, what actually in a general context, it is nothing but analytical study of body and soul in Bhagavad Gita context. If you take it to Bhagavatam, to the advanced level, that is means analytical study of the whole creation, how it has happened. It's not just a big bang, but actually there's a glance of Mahavishnu, 3 Purusha avatars are there, then there is a Lord Shiva, and then Kala Shakti, goddess Kali is coming into picture, and then starts, because of the time factor coming into picture, then the 3 modes of material nature acting, then Mahatattva agitated by these modes, then it starts producing these elements, these 23 elements, one by one comes, and then this creation is happening. Brahma is produced, and then from Brahma all this procreation is happening in this material world. So in this way we have to, that is the analytical study. But the idea behind this Sankhya Yoga is nothing but, after understanding, we should utilize how we are being these 6 anarthas, kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, matsarya, how is affecting, how is situated in all these elements. The gross, subtle, as I explained, the senses are the lowest. Above the senses is mind, above the mind is intelligence. So that is all these levels, these unwanted things are there, contaminated consciousness. So we need to purify. So that's why Krishna is, unless you do service, that's why Prabhupada is mentioning to devotees and always emphasizing, whether you like it or not, always engaging in service. That means, how do you receive the mercy? Is a very important instruction from this verse. How do you receive the mercy? When we follow the instruction of the spiritual master, when we follow the instruction of the Supreme Lord, that's when we receive the mercy. The mercy flows to the degree we follow the instructions. It is not hearing classes, it is after hearing, we need to follow the instruction. Then the mercy flows. We get some mercy, but if we want really more mercy, we really want mercy, then we need to follow the instructions slowly and gradually. We have to follow the instructions. Then the actually mercy flows from the Supreme Lord through bona fide representative, through spiritual master and sadhus. So because we are following instruction, then the mercy flows. And what does it mean? Following instruction also means we are always engaged in the service. That Prabhupada emphasized this. It is not then one time Shrutakirti Prabhu asked, Prabhupada, all disciples, many of your disciples, they all have so much love for you, but I don't have love. Prabhupada, actually, he was servant 2 years, 2.5 years, he personally served. No other thing. He was not going to let me see the detail, let me do perform arti, let me go here, there. No, he was not going anywhere. Even sitting in Vrindavan, sitting in wonderful places throughout the world, he was traveling with Prabhupada. He cannot do anything because he has to wait what Prabhupada wanted. So Prabhupada always, he was massaging, he was cooking, he was from morning to evening. When Prabhupada wakes up, because he has to be ready with everything. He cannot go here and there and do things. He has to serve. So then one time he mentioned that everybody is so much, they have so much enthusiasm, they have so much love for you, Prabhupada, but I don't have love. Prabhupada mentioned, Prabhupada gave time. Prabhupada didn't answer. While he was massaging, he asked this question. And Prabhupada didn't answer immediately. And see, Prabhupada is very cultured. He knows exactly how to tame the senses, how to tame the mind and intelligence. He gave almost 5-6 hours. He didn't speak a single word. He performed his massage. He gave the prasadam. And then he went to sleep. Then after waking 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. And then that time he told him, so do you like your service? Yes, Prabhupada, yes, I like service. Always, I like to do service. I am here to do service. And then that is the, when you love your service, that is love. That means when you are like your service, that means there is love. When you are not doing service, because that means you are putting your own thoughts. That means I don't like to do this. So this is about in temple. One time one Mataji told Prabhupada, devotee, Prabhupada, too much, why devotees are acting. Because Shastra is telling, I have a hard time figuring out why devotees act in this way. So why so much, this thing is happening in temple. And Prabhupada said, can you find any place where there is no Maya? So Prabhupada always, Prabhupada wanted to say, encourage, perform your service, look for good qualities, look for positive qualities in each and every aspect, in each and every person. Then you can grow. Then you always do your service. Otherwise, because the minute you start performing this, even though you might be doing service, but after doing this, always looking for negative things, trying to fall with others, after a few years, you will not want to do service because Krishna will take away that service from you. So that is what will happen. So that's why the service must be done. If you want to receive mercy, following instructions and doing service. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. Continue to do service. Always try to do whatever. Preaching service, physical service. Physical service also we should do because the conditioned body, the intelligence, it doesn't work. Dushkritana. Always, in order for intelligence, because Dhritarashtra, that is the problem. Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana. They never served devotees. They never followed the instruction because they don't have love to do service. When the service is not there, then how are we going to understand? How are we going to receive mercy? And how are we going to purify these senses? There is no way because senses require active things. Senses require because senses are always active. That's why mind is always thinking 100 different things. Senses want to go here, go eat here, do this, do that. So many things. That's why they must be engaged. They must be actively engaged. So best thing is to do service. Whatever, once a week, once a month, whatever within our time, place, circumstance and capacity. But it must be done. So regularly, consistently. So in that way, then naturally we will be really developing our love, and then automatically we develop the relationship, the rasa, the trust to the spiritual master, devotees, obviously first devotees in the association, we develop that because of that love we have for the Lord and the love with the devotees, then automatic love with all living entities. Then naturally we develop the trust also, the relationship between the friends, all this is there because we love them. So we reciprocate, but it has some material tinges. But when you develop really love, genuine love after hearing and associating with devotees, then we actually remove our anarthas. Then it enhances our material relationship also. Then it increases the trust. It increases the even mature our relationships further and further because Lord is transcending our difficulties, material greed into spiritual greed and spiritual anxieties, material anxiety into spiritual anxiety. It transforms, so much transformation happens because of the service. The physical service must be there always. So that's how Prabhupada has instructed. So that if you love your service, that's it. That is actually love. That means unless you do service, then where is the love? That there is no question of love. That means you don't want to do service. That means you want to do your own ideas and thoughts. You want to do your own things. So then that means you never understood. Smrnatam swa katha Krishna punya sravana kirtan hridayam tasto avadrani vidnot suhrut satam. Because otherwise, whatever varna and whatever ashrama we do, after hearing, if you really want to remove your abhadrani, unwanted things, then you must perform service. Where Krishna is mentioning, yeah, otherwise it's simply srama eva hi kevalam. Yeah. So because we are not engaging, using the following instructions and not putting into practice, that means then mercy is not flowing. So only when you perform service, then mercy is flowing. So Prabhupada has emphasized very much, and we can see those who are always engaged in the service, they stayed. Their consciousness advanced, they became advanced devotees. But those who didn't follow instructions, put in practice, those who didn't do service after a few years and because of criticizing this and that and finding fault, then fall down. They fall down from their own sannyas to grihastha to this, and then sometimes they left also. Because this kind of mentality, this is a crow and swan mentality. Sorry, swan mentality means always trying to find positive things, clear, crystal clear water, and always healthy, nice places, clean. But the crow is always assembled at the garbage, dirty places. So same way, our intelligence, our mind is also dirty. Unless it is actively engaged with love in these services, then only it can purify our actual. That is what actual Buddhi Yoga means. That's why Krishna is emphasizing. First time he is emphasizing, don't be attached to the result. Second thing, repeating Buddhi second time because he is emphasizing, you must dovetail, you must perform service. Because dovetailing means service. That's why it is mentioned Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are asking Hare, first we are asking through devotee, through the Srimati Radharani, we are asking Hare, oh energy of the Lord, oh internal energy of the Lord, Srimati Radharani, please engage in, oh Krishna, oh all attractive Lord, oh Rama, oh Almighty Lord, Lord Ramachandra, Lord Balram, Lord Parsuram, you can think of in any way you like. So engage in your service. That's what we are asking through Srimati Radharani, through the advanced, through the internal energy of the Lord. This is the greatest devotee. She is always trying to please Krishna, trying to serve Krishna. So that's why all our spiritual masters, when we are offering, they are all present, not directly serving. They are always presenting to Srimati Radharani, and then she is presenting it to Krishna because she is more merciful than the Lord. She is always thinking, oh, I am not so great. This devotee is doing wonderful service. Here, please engage in your service. In that way, she presents. So she is always compassionate. So that's how. So that's what our chanting means. It is engaged. But when we don't want like to do service, then where is the Buddhi Yoga actually? Actual Buddhi Yoga. That means our impurities will stay as it is. So that also then we have to pay attention. When it comes to service, also we have to pay attention to the details. That means if Lord is not reciprocate, Lord is not giving intelligence. What he likes, what he doesn't like, where are the offenses, where are the mistakes. That means we are not paying attention. If we pay attention, Lord will reciprocate. And Prabhupada used to chastise Srutakirti Prabhu very gently though, other devotees, because when the mistakes are performed, because when we are personal, when we know, then automatically, because Guru is personal, Lord is personal, he reciprocates. But when we act impersonal, then Lord will not reciprocate. We don't pay attention to details, obviously. Then because we don't want to be corrected, we don't want to be disciplined, then obviously neither Guru will instruct, neither Guru will not even give instruction, any instruction. because we are not in the capacity to accept, we are not in the capacity to follow or do service, then giving instruction means it is going to be offensive. Because if we fail to follow after giving instruction, that will cause offense, that will be not good for the devotee, disciple, because he will not be able to progress, because that is an offense to a spiritual master when we don't follow after receiving instruction, especially if guru didn't instruct, then that's a good thing. Because and then so that's why it also another thing is mentioned, that more we become simple, more we become think that we are fool, we are ignorant in front of spiritual master, in front of the Lord, in front of the advanced devotees, we are better situated. More we think we are scholarly, we are advanced, we are better, we know knowledge, we know Bhagavad Gita, we know the Shastra, I know better, then that is the actually fall down. That means we really don't have a trust, we really didn't understand Shastra. As in Pradyumna's case, Pradyumna approached in that mentality. Pradyumna Mishra understood that I have wasted my life, and he approached Mahaprabhu. I want to hear Krishna Katha. Then Mahaprabhu sent, there's a personality, Ramanand Rai, go and approach him. Then he went and approached Ramanand Rai, and Ramanand Rai was engaged in great activities, which it is more confidential activities he was performing. And then so he didn't know, his servant didn't tell him that the personality came to meet you. But the day passed, and the next day, and then he heard what Ramanand Rai was doing, confidential activities. He was assisting the two girls. So then Pradyumna Mishra thought, oh, this guy, what is he going to teach me? He's serving me with these two girls. Then he went and told Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please, you instruct me, you tell me the Krishna Katha, please instruct me. But Mahaprabhu told, no, you didn't understand properly. Go back again. He is the great personality. Go back again. Even I receive instructions. Even I also hear from him. That's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told. Then Ramananda Rai, next day when he went, then he told, what can I do? He told, first of all, tell that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has sent you. Then as soon as he told, he said, yes, I am here to do service. This is the great opportunity. Otherwise, how will I get opportunity to speak? Ramananda Rai, see the mentality, the mood. He is ready to engage in service. Immediately, as soon as he received instruction that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to speak to him, then immediately took, because that is instruction. Then immediately thought that is my duty to perform immediately without even asking any questions. And so, what kind of Krishna Katha you want to hear? What topics? Then he asked Pradyumna. And Pradyumna Mishra also, you see the speaker, you see the recipient, you see the disciple, how he is acting. He told, I don't know anything because I am ignorant. I don't know what to ask. I don't know what kind of katha I should hear. I don't know anything. I am so ignorant. Please, you are the intelligent person. You are the great devotee. So please instruct me. Whatever you think is good for me, please speak about Krishna Katha. In that way, see, that this is the way. So it means stay thinking that we are the fool, we are the ignorant, we don't know anything in front of the spiritual master and advanced devotees, in front of the Lord. Then that is better for us. That will actually, because we are thinking that I am the lowest, I am the servant. We are not acting as a master. So then that will act, and in that way, Ramananda Rai, then he started describing confidential topics and greatly about Krishna Katha, Lord Krishna's pastimes. Then he was so much mesmerized, because Ramananda Rai is not different. He is Radharani's servant, Vishaka Saki, direct associate of Srimati Radharani. So obviously he is not ordinary devotee, he is extraordinary devotee, confidential devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then after receiving instruction, then Pradyumna was in ecstasy, he was dancing, he went and met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and told, you have done my whole life, I will surrender to your lotus feet. This is the most important thing you have given me, and this is the most wonderful thing. She is such an extraordinary devotee. All my senses, everything was enlivening while he was giving Krishna Katha, he was speaking Krishna Katha. So he has developed so much. See, this is the association. That's what association will do. By simply association, Ramananda Rai, he became purified. Pradyumna Mishra, his determination increased, his enthusiasm increased. So This is what, and Ramananda Rai also is exhibiting that service. He wants to always serve, always Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whatever Mahaprabhu, because he was his guru. He is the one. Mahaprabhu went to Rajamandri, to Godavari, bank of Godavari, and instructed Ramananda Rai, you leave your governorship, working in the government, and come here uh, to Jagannath Puri and stay with me. So in that way, immediately he left, and then he came. Then he engaged. He followed Mahaprabhu's instruction. And then we can see how, by following his instruction, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction, how he has exemplified in his behavior. Even though he was already a confidential associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but still on external platform as a leader, is setting the example and always thinking him as the lowest, thinking as a menial servant of the Guru. He has always acted in that platform. That is what advanced devotees does. So that's what we have to learn from this. Actually, this verse has much more deeper meaning. Buddhi Yoga, two times it is used, because one thing is to not attach to result. Second thing is we have to actively engage in the service by paying attention to details with the mentality that we are not qualified. I'm not learned, neither I am qualified. Only by the mercy of Guru and advanced devotees and the Lord, I'm being given this opportunity to do service. So how can I improve? What can I do? How can I serve more? How can I improve my service? How can I become better in my service? So this is the mentality we need to carry. So then automatically everything will be revealed. Dadami buddhi yogantam enamam upayantade. Naturally you will come to me, because of your using your intelligence, your mind, your senses, everything in my service, because you have understood Sankhya Yoga, you understood your Karma Yoga, and you are utilizing everything in my service, then naturally you will come to me. I will give the intelligence by which you can improve and you can come to me. So that is the instruction from this specific verse.
So in this verse 2.39, we see two times Buddhi Yoga is used. Tesha abhihita sankhya buddhi yogant imam srunu buddhi yukto e aparda karma bandham prahasyase. So that buddhi is also explained in later on in Canto 3, Srimad Bhagavatam, as at the time of the creation, Mahavishnu, Karanavasaya Vishnu is glancing, and then the Mahatattva, the total summation of the material elements, sum total of matter, is called Mahatattva. It manifested, Mahavishnu desiring, as living entity want to desire to have separately enjoy from the Lord. So for them to enter into material world, so Lord desired to make the material world appear. So then Mahat Tattva generated, and then from Mahat Tattva is pure goodness, unalloyed goodness. But from there, when it is in touch with three modes of material nature, especially then this influenced by the time, the Kala Choditat, which is goddess Kala, time energy, external energy. Part of that is one of the energies, time energy, Kala Shakti, that is represented by goddess Kali. So that is directly connected to the Mahatattva, is directly connected to the supreme goodness and the pure goodness of the Supreme Lord as Karanavasaya Vishnu. But the same thing is appearing as the intelligence, intellect. The intelligence, as we are describing, the living entity has subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego, and here also the buddhi. So one meaning of buddhi is also coming from the Mahatattva, where it is explained in Canto 3, chapter 5, verse number 27. Mahatattva is the total consciousness, because a portion of it is represented in everyone as the intellect. So that intellect is in the touch with the material modes, the one which living entities has. Later on, is been explained as Mahatattva in touch with mode of goodness, mind is generated. It is called Satviki. Mahatattva in touch in mode of passion, intelligence is generated. Then Mahatattva mode of ignorance, then the ego, and then all the different various other 23 elements were 20 elements were generated. The gross elements, subtle karmendriyas, jnanendriyas. And also we discussed the Buddhi Yoga, two times used, because Buddhi Yoga, there are four concentrated circles of the, one is the living entity must follow that, have the cooperation and the dependency. These are dependency can be there, dependent, they can, first let's understand the four circles: dependency, cooperation, regulated activities, and determination. These four things are four different circles. But these four things can be, dependency can be on the external energy, using it for their own enjoyment, living entities. And the same thing, cooperation, just to get the benefit for their own enjoyment. They may cooperate for the time being, like Dhritarashtra cooperated after the war was over. He stayed in Pandava's home and was eating, but not realizing what he has to do with his life. He didn't realize any lessons. So that kind of cooperation is still not good, because it's still not in the highest stage. So that's why it can be. So we'll discuss the dependency, then cooperation. The third one is the regulated activities. So ordinary activities means as per prescribed duties, as per scriptural injunction, is called regulated activities. But it can be not connected to Supreme Lord. We can still perform fruitive activity. That's why here in the purport, we'll see in our later on also, for the Buddhi Yoga means one is using intelligence for engaging in fruitive activities. That's also sense gratification, as that's what Arjuna wants to do. He wants to renounce, go to forest, because he's thinking that will be happy, give happiness to him. And other way he was thinking, Arjuna, he will fight, or he may consider, I will fight because that will also, I can enjoy the kingdom. But both ways, when it is not in touch, not in connected with Krishna, then it is still not actually regulated activities in Krishna consciousness. So that is the third one, regulated activity. And the fourth one is the determination. So one must be determined even at the complex failure, even if he fails during various activities, during various tests. Everybody goes through different tests through life. So he must be determined to act, not lose the patience, not give up things. As Arjuna was thinking to give up, he doesn't want to fight. But Krishna is encouraging in this section of 30 to 39. So that's why this 39th verse is very crucial. So when these four circles of this dependency, cooperation, and regulated activities, and determination are working with Krishna in the center, the intersection, these four circles with the intersection of Krishna is in the center of all these four aspects, then that is the actual Buddhi Yoga. Because Buddhi Yoga, first word used Buddhi Yoga in the first line or second line, it is nothing but it is explained as without attached to the fruitive results. But still that may not be a Krishna conscious. People can open hospital, feed poor people, but that is called philanthropic activity. But still that is not Krishna conscious. There is no bhakti involved. There is no divorce. Still he may gain some goodness, as we are discussing. Manye dhana vijana sruta tapas sruta ujas teja prabhava bala buddhi बलबुद्धि पौरुषात् बलबुद्धि पौरुषात् न आराधनाय परस्य पुंसो भक्त्या तुतोष भगवान गजयूतपाय. So even despite we might perform philanthropic activities, we might have so much riches and aristocracy, influence, fame, austerity, so many things we may do, but we cannot satisfy, we cannot please the Supreme Lord, we cannot come to the pure goodness, because na aradhanaya, we will not be able to please or worship the Supreme Lord because of all these material qualities, because it is not geared towards paras tasmai pumsam. The pumsam means living entity, para means transcendence to the Supreme Lord. It is not geared towards Supreme Lord. So only way it can be done is by bhakti. Bhaktya tutosha bhagwan gajayotapaya, like Gajendra has satisfied the Supreme Lord at the end when crocodile caught him. 1,000 years fight, at the end he realized that I need to surrender, I must offer. Then he was saved by the Supreme Lord. So that's why these four concentrated circles of these things, four different departments, four different aspects must be with Krishna in the center. Then it gives, that is actually the second aspect of Buddhi Yoga, word used in this verse. Buddhi Yukta, Yukta means dovetailed, engaged in connection with Krishna. Buddhi Yukto Yaya Parda. In the first one is Buddhi was used, is not attached to fruitive results. So when we do this dovetail towards Krishna, then karma bandham prahasana, not automatically will not get any sinful reactions. because we are performing akarma. And so that is the main meaning of these verses. So with Krishna must be in the center of all these four. Another way to look at is the 23 elements of Sankhya Yoga. That also leads to the Bhakti Yoga, because that is mentioned as the other four circles. In another way to look at is the karmendriyas and jnanendriyas. So the Dhritarashtra is operating on the karmendriya. He's using his hands, legs, and belly, and genitals, and evacuation, and mouth. But he is not operating on the actual jnanendriyas. The first circle is karmendriyas. Indriyas itself, two circles, karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, the gross. And subtle is mind is another circle, and intelligence is another circle, four circles. All these four must be enlightened in Krishna consciousness, enlightened by the transcendental knowledge, and then act, practically apply it. That means Krishna must be in the center. For Karmendriya, Krishna must be center. In the Jnanendriyas, Krishna must be center. In the mind, Krishna must be center. In the intelligence, and the intelligence must be sharpened. Mind. So that's why what is it? Indriyani parani ahur indriyebhyam param manah manasastu para buddhe parasastu saha. So first is the gross senses, indriya, and then above that is the mind, above that is the intelligence. So above that intelligence is soul, above the soul is super soul. Super soul is the one which is giving energy to the soul. So that energy consciousness is distributed through the 10 kinds of air, 5 gross and 5 subtle air. So in that way, this whole creation is explained in Canto 3. So in this way, we have to understand these four circles of these, even the karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, mind, intelligence, even these four also has to be in conjunction, utilized, like Amrish Maharaj utilized everything in Lord's service. That's why it's called, he used all 9 limbs of bhakti: Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasenam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmaneva. Everything he used in Krishna's service. Even though he's a great king, he has so much opulence, everything he has, but he utilized everything. He never thought that everything belongs to him. He was not acting independently. He was cooperating with everyone. He was working under the direction of the Brahmanas, intelligent class. So even though he was a Kshatriya, so he was cooperating, he was dependent, he was performing regulative principle with Krishna in the center. He was also regulated activities, and he also has determined to act even despite difficulties. So we see that when Durvasa Muni walked in, even that time also, he didn't lose any patience. He was simply surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord protected him. So he never lost his patience this way. And then we were discussing other example, Pradyumna Mishra from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, Gaur Leela, Lord Chaitanya's Leela, where Pradyumna Mishra thought he wanted to depend on Krishna and engage. He thought, I wasted my life, let me now start hearing about Krishna and utilize and practically apply it. So that's when he went to meet Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to discuss, to understand Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's holy name. So then Mahaprabhu sent him to Ramananda Rai, great extraordinary devotee. So then Ramananda Rai started discussing Krishna's topics, and then he told, this is the greatest benediction I have been given, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given me a service to speak. So what else can be better than this? Because service is the priority. Service, without service there is no dovetailing, because only when you do service means, dovetailing means there is service. Chanting means we are asking for service. So that means we are always, even the chanting is also service, hearing is also service. That means we are inclined to come close to Krishna. That is also service. But if it is possible, if you are nearby temple, then we should try to engage. Or at home also, when we offer bhoga to Krishna, that is also service. So offering flowers to Krishna, that is also service. Arati, that means we are utilizing our resources and whatever we got, using in Krishna, that is also service. So by these service, naturally all these 4 different aspects, the gross, subtle, the senses, and also these aspects of the dependency, cooperation, regulated activities, and determination, all these 4 aspects also will be purified and will become to the perfection stage naturally as we progress. So that is what this verse means. That's why Krishna is explaining Sankhya Yoga, and in reality at the end the culmination of Sankhya Yoga is Buddhi Yoga. That's why Prabhupada is explaining here that analytical study is ultimately for what purpose? Is to come close to Krishna, utilizing everything in Krishna's service. So thank you.
We can take If anybody has.
No questions.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes. Ashish Karna Jagannath Prabhu, go ahead.
Yes, Prabhu, I had today you give the detailed description about the Suddha Tattva, Mahatattva and other stuff, other things, how everything that is very wonderful, Prabhu, and other things also, the Sankhya Yoga and the Sankhya Yoga related to the Gita, our Bhagavan, related to Gita, soul and body, soul and
Body, yes. Analytical study of the body and the soul, and ultimately to come to the point of using it in Krishna service. That is what Bhagavad Gita. But analytical study of all the creation is from Srimad Bhagavad, much more detailed, because the whole chapters, 26 or 33 chapters in the third canto, that much detail. In Bhagavad Gita only just 20 verses or so, how much elaborate it can be discussed. So that's why it is in a very descriptive, in a very short, Lord had to give within that time.
Yes, but you give the wonderful description about the Sankhya Yoga.
Yes.
There's a lot of things I need to know, but today is short time. But just asking you that the Sankhya, that Shuddha Tattva means you are talking about the Satchit Anand, or Shuddha Tattva is there is no element, right?
Yeah, when the Mahatattva in pure consciousness, original consciousness, there is no material elements. There is no agitation, there is no goodness, passion, ignorance. Only when the living entity, when Lord wants to create this material world, or send the living entities who wants to enjoy separately from the Lord because of their agitation. Because the living entities are always in three states: wakefulness, sushupti, deep sleep, or in the sleep. So three stages. When we are dreaming, when we are nighttime, when we are sleeping, that is in the sleep. Deep sleep means when during the partial annihilation, when the Brahma is nighttime, he is sleeping. So that time the living entities, especially those who are on the earthly planet and all, they all go back to the abdomen of Mahavishnu in a deep sleep, sushupti. And so that time also Maha is there. But as soon as the next day comes, then again the living entities, according to the activities they perform, again they come back. They enter into these different planets, different places, different families, and again they continue where they what they had done in the previously. And there is a deep sleep, and the wakefulness means they are in the they are not in that stage. Wakeful means they are active. They are using in their bodies wherever they are living, human body or whatever bodies they are in. So that is the, yeah, that is what it is.
Yes. So just I'll not take much time because you need to go also. So asking this thing that Mahatattva or Shuddha Tattva means Satchit Anand.
Yes. So Suddha Tattva means Sachidananda Vigraha, which is Supreme Lord has, that Vasudeva, pure consciousness, Visuddha Sattva. Okay, this is in the spiritual world, it is called Visuddha Sattva, and that is Satchit Ananda. The quality of the living entity is a consciousness. That is a Sachidananda Vigraha. That means full of eternality, full of knowledge, full of Ananda. Sat means eternality, Chit means knowledge, and then Ananda means blissfulness, eternal, permanent happiness, permanent blissfulness, not in material. We haven't experienced yet. That's why we are in the lower stages. So this is the in a spiritual world. It is full in such. There is no material thing. There is not even goodness, not even passion, not ignorance. It is in a Visuddha Sattva. For even the living, and they are called Nitya Siddhas, not Nitya. Nitya Muktas, eternally liberated living, they never come down to the material world. They are always situated in that Visuddha Sattva. And obviously, Lord never gets contaminated. Lord is always in Visuddha Sattva. But the rest of the living entity, those are in the category of this Nitya, what you call, not Nitya Siddha, Nitya Mukta, Nitya Baddha, eternally conditioned. Most of the living entities, thousands and thousands of them are conditioned. So they always want to be in that. It is mentioned in one of the verse. There are two things. The intelligence can be of two aspects. One is the fruitive activity intelligence, having this mentality of to engage in fruitive activity. That is the one type of intelligence. The second effect of the intelligence, which is not pure, the second aspect is initially fruitive activities. Then always want to be attached to. The second one is want to merge into the Brahman effulgence. They want to become God. They want to become God. And so that is the philosophical speculation, and they want to become. They want to follow the Gnana Marga, and they want to become God. That is, these two aspects are called defective intelligence, are also called contaminated intelligence. That is what here Krishna is speaking. Give up these two aspects. Give up your fruitive mentality and don't be attached to the result. And also give up your mental speculations, renouncing things or giving up, thinking that you are God. Rather, give up that idea and serve in active service. Perform active service. That purifies your intelligence and bring you from contaminated consciousness into active consciousness. Because anyone in the material world, except the bona fide spiritual masters, and Narada Muni, sometimes these great devotees come from the spiritual world to preach, to distribute, disseminate the knowledge. They are always liberated. But the rest of us, we are not in that. We are in the these modes, either goodness, passion, or or mix of. Sometimes we operate in the morning time, in the Brahma Muhurta time, we might be operating on goodness. As we after 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock onwards till afternoon, then we operate on the passion. Then as soon as the evening and more in the night, then we act in a mode of ignorance. That's how our chanting deflects. Chanting also varies in what time of the day we work, what time of the day we chant, what time of day we do service. So how we interact. That's why we also have to, when we are impatient, when we are in difficulty, when we see some circumstances, it is better to be patient, better to be silent, better not to talk, better not to be agitated. Just be give some time, because as the course of time goes on, then naturally things get settled down. Then we will not be, because otherwise we take up and we continue to the conversation, because when our mind, our intelligence, we know, we already can sense it that we are not in a situation properly. Then when we engage that, prolong that conversation or whatever situation we are in, then it is going to bring even more chaos, more worse situation, because we are not operating on that pure Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Achit, Asat, Nirananda. This is what we are after, because we are always seeking happiness through senses, through mind, through intelligence. Achit. And we are always looking for material knowledge. That is called Asat. And Achit means we are always looking for happiness in temporary things. That is called Achit. Knowledge, what is that? Eternality. Yeah, we are always looking for temporary things. That is called Asat. When we are always looking for material knowledge or temporary knowledge, then that is called Achit. And we are always looking for temporary happiness in material things. We are looking for happiness. That is called Nirananda. So, but when it comes to the pure state, then it is called Sat, Chit, and Ananda. So that's how we need to understand.
Yes. Yes. So just to give some tips that whenever there is problem, we need to quiet, right?
Yes, we need to be. Yeah, yes, it's better to give some time. Be patient. Yeah, not to engage in the conversation. You can tell them that I will talk. I'll talk with you tomorrow, or I will finish this work tomorrow. So give me some time. I need some time. Something I'm busy with something, or something going on. Some other way you divert that attention and do. So better to be in that in that way we act. It is better for us, because otherwise it's because we are not purely situated. We are not like Sri Prabhupada or advanced devotees. We cannot act in a proper way, especially when our senses or mind is agitated. So rather we stay quiet, stay put, and not do, continue that service or the activity or the conversation, whatever it is.
Okay, I got your point. But you another we'll take another one minute only, 1 and 2 minutes only.
Go ahead quickly.
So question is that first is Vishuddha Tattva, then Shuddha Tattva, then Vishuddha Tattva, Shuddha Tattva, from Shuddha Tattva, that comes from the Mahatattva, right?
No, the Visuddha and Shuddha is same thing, but just to make it, because in the material world you can say, yeah, this is pure gold. This is something we say maybe because we have different understanding of what is Shuddha, what is pure in material world. But actually, when we say bona fide, when we say Guru, there is only one Guru who is actually bona fide. When we say pure, that actually it means it's supposed to be Visuddha. It means no impurities whatsoever. It is not, it doesn't have any material qualities. But because in the material we time to time we use this word pure, then that has a wrong connotation. That's why in Shastra we use Visuddha. That's why we also call, we don't use sometimes mukti. It is called Vishesha Mukti. When it is mentioned Vishesha Mukti means not ordinary liberation. Vishesha Mukti means many times it could be entering into Golok Vrindavan, performing Shanta, Dasya, Sankhya, especially Sankhya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, these three rasas, higher rasas, when it is used in Vishesha, and depending on the context, Vishesha Mukti. So that's why we have to see the words when it is used. In the context of spiritual context, we generally use Visuddha instead of Suddha, because many times Suddha, pure, even in the, you see this atta and all in the marketing, what they use, oh, this is the pure quality. Even the gold guys also, they say pure gold. But how much pure? If you go to heavenly planet, there in Shastra, it is a Bhagavatam, there is explanation. The gold you get in the heavenly planet has a higher quality than what we get in the material world. This is nothing. So like that. So that's why it is a comparison is relative. That's why we use pure like any way you like. But in reality in Shastra, that's why they use Visuddha. So Vishesha is used. That's what we have to understand.
Okay. Okay. Just I will take one taboo. Just after Vishuddha Tattva, it is come to the Mahatattva by glance of the Mahavishnu, the Kala Chakra by what is the goddess Kali, right?
What is that? Mahatattva? Yeah. When before even Mahatattva coming into action, into bringing these elements, actually it is in touch. The three modes of material nature is already in place, because as soon as Mahavishnu is thinking to glance, while glancing, then he is sending this Kala. Then three modes of material nature are already acting, is in action, because that's when the transformation. Because when we say milk is touched with milk is transformed into yogurt, what is happening? That means there is a transformation. How it is happening? Because three modes of material nature through Kala Chakra, under the purview of time, under the purview of Kala, then activity is taking place, because three modes are working. The Visuddha Sattva, the pure goodness, is transformed because of the Mahavishnu's glance is being sent through the Kala Shakti and also Lord Shiva. Then the three modes of material nature is also there, and it is being transformed from the actual original quality of pure. Then that's when these elements come. Because if the three modes of material nature is not there, goodness, passion, ignorance, then these elements cannot come. Because we see mind, we see that where I explained that Tejas and Vaikarika in Sattvika Mahatattva, when it is operating, when it is in touch with goodness, not pure goodness, goodness in a material sense, material mode, then it is producing the mind. When it is in passion, it is producing the intelligence, and the ignorance, the false ego, and also these various other elements of karmendriyas, jnanendriyas. In this way it is explained. Only when it is three modes of material nature and along with the Kala Chakra, these two things are required. That is coming with the glance of Mahavishnu. He is sending these things, then that's when it starts cooking. So that's why Supreme Lord explaining in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita 5 aspects: the Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, and Kala. Kala is very important. That Kala is time factor. Also Kala Shakti, nothing but the representation is Kali, goddess Kali is actually there is a personality. So Kala, and then obviously Karma. So in this way 5 aspects. That's why we have to understand detailedly each of these. This is mentioned in the Canto 3, this Kala, where I was describing this whole creation, this Mahatattva and everything is described in Canto 3 and also in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, I have to run. So other questions you can ask later, because I have to run to deity service, already getting late.
Yes, we'll go to sorry, Prabhu. And later we can ask. I have questions also.
Okay, sure.
Regarding that,
Yeah, sure. You can ask in the next class. Yeah, no problem. Or whenever we meet. Okay.
Yes, sure.
Thank you all very much for patiently listening. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भगवद गीता की जय, श्री गोपाल की जय, गौर भक्तवृंद की जय.